Welcome, Lee University potential candidates. My name is Dr. Brown, and I serve in the role of Director of Teacher Education, Field Experiences, and Certification here at the Lee University College of Education. One of the things that I wanted to do, first of all, is welcome you. If you have had an interest in joining our program by earning your initial licensure in teaching, or again, if you may be joining us through the Job Embedded program, either one of those are great opportunities for us today to provide some sort of orientation for you about the specifics of our program and what makes our program unique to Lee University. And so I'll introduce you to specific requirements as well as any kind of contact information or just some need to know things that you want to be aware of as you kind of journey through this specific 14-month program, or for some of you, potentially a couple different semesters, especially if you're in the Job Embedded program as well. But that's really sort of a separate conversation to be had about Job Embedded. So some of this may or may not apply specifically to your situation, but we're certainly happy to answer any questions if something is unclear about this specific program and those specific requirements. So I wanted to discuss with you the two steps. So acceptance into our graduate education program is really a two-step process. So first of all, you have to be accepted into the graduate program. Now, acceptance into this means, again, we have MAT scores, we have GRE scores, we have applications, references, all those kind of things. This allows you to become a full-time student, right? That's the whole purpose behind being accepted into the actual program itself. The second part of the acceptance level is you also then have to be initially accepted into the teacher education program. That usually comes for completion of the graduate program, but it usually comes when you're moving into what we call internship 2. So for most of you, it's usually towards the second semester, full semester that you've had here, fall, spring kind of situation, or spring, fall. Typically, that's how this works. So you can come in and declare teaching as your major, but you have to be officially accepted into that. Now, understanding, we're going to talk a little bit about what those pieces are, expectations for getting into the teacher education program, but not being fully admitted to that next step is something really key, because again, it will require additional steps for you. And so we'll keep you up to date on communication as far as deadlines, what kind of things you need to be aware of as you move into that specific part of the program. So what do you need to know about admission to the grad program? So those are things that either you're looking into this or things that you've already done. You've already applied or going to apply. Crystal Randolph is your main contact person. Contact person for any kind of transcript evaluation is Beth Ann Weidenbender. She's also our certification officer. Crystal Randolph serves as our program coordinator for graduate studies. And so she handles all things with initial licensure as well as all of our other advanced degrees as well. All applications, of course, are reviewed by a grad committee. There are interviews that you have to have as well, and there's certain components that you have to look for before you can be approved to be admitted. So looking at your GPA, looking at one of the two exams that we have on record, professional recommendations from folks, writing samples, you get to interview with myself. And typically in that interview, we try to also couple it with another graduate professor as well, someone you will be coming in contact with, so that you can have another perspective during that time. We try to schedule them both at the same time if possible, just to save you time, because we know your schedule is pretty busy as ours is as well. So we try to get both of those things taken care of at once. Once all those things have been completed, then we move your file forward to the grad ed committee for them to be able to vote on to approve for you to be able to start working with us fully. Now, there are opportunities for people to be able to take classes without being fully admitted, just to kind of see if it's something they want to do. Those are questions you can talk with Ms. Randolph about if you're interested in that part of our program. Now, the next step to that. So you've been fully admitted to the program, you have begun classwork, you've done all the things, maybe you've finished up internship 1 or about to start internship 1. And that is when you need to start thinking about admission to the teacher education program. So here are some main things you need to be aware of as far as that admission is concerned. Remember, that's another level of admission that's required by the State Department of Tennessee. So one thing we look for are, number one, successful completion of the content praxis exam. So whatever praxis exam that goes with your specific degree, that's the one you need to have passed. The most current one with the passing score must be passed in order for you to be able to be fully admitted. Some of you potentially did that before you that into the program. Some of you are doing that even now. So that's something that you need to kind of think through as far as scheduling those tests, getting those things. And we'll talk a little bit about some of that praxis stuff here in just a few minutes. You will have to receive professor recommendations and dispositional ratings from the previous Lee University professors, meaning folks who have served within your degree program currently that have been teaching you in the last 9 to 12 hours of coursework. They want to be able to evaluate you in real time, not something from 2 or 3 years ago, something from real time evaluation. The other part of that is you will have methods courses, teaching methods courses, and of course, completion of internship 1 during that process. Who do you need to ask questions about? You will receive information from Beth Ann Weidenbender or Christy Isham in our office about the progress steps that you've made towards teacher education program, deadlines. Typically, the deadline for us is usually around October the 1st of each year. That's really key for us to be able to move into internship 2. That's what's really, really key. They, of course, are reviewed. Applications are reviewed and approved by the Teacher Education Committee, who approves you to be able to move into the next level of your internship phase. So those deadlines, those things are extremely important to make sure that you have those all in order and making sure that you're following through with those pieces as well. Now, what do we talk about when we talk about dispositional reviews? So one of the things that you need to know about dispositional is we look at everything. We realize that teaching is an art. Teaching is also a science. We're going to teach you about the science of teaching, but there are some things that you're going to have to just learn by immersion and by experience. And so a lot of that comes back to this professional disposition review. We're going to be looking at you from the perspective of, do we think that you have the skills necessary, not just in content, but in personality to be able to actually do? Is your work ethic strong? Is responsibility there, right? What is your, again, thinking about the, again, just any of the, how do you resolve conflict, right? How do you work with others? Are you a team player? Those things that we're going to be able to see in your professionalism as we work with you in our specific coursework. So that's what we're going to be judging all of our things on, and making sure that you have the right tools that you need to be successful as well. So we have an evaluation rubric that we use that you, of course, can know to see. We're looking for ranks of 2 being proficient for initial licensure. Of course, if you get any rankings below that, then those are conversations we're going to need to have about whether or not this might be the right program for you or the right career path for you into initial level teaching, because we realize, again, there are lots of things it takes to be able to be a teacher and to be a solid, good, effective teacher. We want to make sure that you have the skill set needed to be successful. We never want to put you in a situation where you're not going to have the skill sets that you need to be successful. Now, do we expect perfection? Absolutely not. We expect growth. That's what we're looking for. Our program is all about growth. We are about seeing people continue to grow in their chosen profession in this field. And we love to be able to see those pieces as well, and to know that you're making the strides to be able to grow in those pieces. Now, what do you need to know about praxis exams and EdTPA? So again, all praxis exams, those are your content exams, must be taken and passed before graduation, including EdTPA, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. You can find all the information that you need as far as your requirements on the Praxis website. Here's a great website for you to go to. It lists the tests, the scores, all this kind of stuff. We also have information like that in our office that you certainly can do that. Sign up early. Some exams can take a while to be able to post scores. They are doing all of this information is available at home now, where you can test at home. You don't have to go to a testing center, which is extremely convenient for all of our students. And so those are really, really key things that you want to make sure that you've done. You want to ensure, of course, that your scores, when you sign up, are sent both to Lee University and to the Tennessee Department of Education. Now, typically, if you take the tests in Tennessee Department of Ed is usually kind of an automatic. So if you take the test outside of Tennessee, you have to ensure that it's sent to the Tennessee Department, because that won't be an automatic default. Lee is really key as well. We must have official scores for all your praxis on file. We cannot take your word for it. We cannot take a photocopy. If we don't have official scores, you will have to request it to be sent. Of course, that's additional funds to be paid, about $40, I believe, to get those things sent to us. So we can give you the information to know when those things have to be passed, right? All those things as well. There are great study materials available online for the praxis exams. There is study videos for different disciplines. are available. Again, all kinds of things that you can look for. There are Facebook groups, there's YouTube videos. I will be sending out newsletters to you that will include Praxis materials and details on how to navigate the website. Those will come about every 3 months or so. And you can look at that to see scores and updates of things that have happened. So we try to keep you well informed of the specific Praxis requirements and provide you with the needed materials to be able to actually pass those specifically. So what do you need to know about Internship 2? So in this program, the typical 14-month program, you complete Internship 1 in 1 semester. You get admitted to the teacher education program within that semester to be able to move on to Internship 2, which is Internship 1 is kind of our modified clinical experience where you're half days every day in a classroom. Internship 2, you were in classes full days every day from the start of school to the end of school. Kind of same thing with Internship 1 as far as the calendar is concerned. But in order to be able to do that, you must meet certain criteria. This is non-negotiable, okay, for us. To qualify, you must have passed the content Praxis for that specific area. Again, if you're middle school math, you must have passed the middle school math Praxis. You can look at that and see what tests are available because there's some are limited. Make sure that you've done it well in advance, right? It must be in our office prior to the beginning of Internship 2. Again, we said typically that deadline falls for most people about October the 1st in the fall semester. Usually for the spring semester, that usually happens around March 1st or so. So you need to be thinking about those dates to make sure you have this content Praxis test taken care of. Another test that you want to be familiar with is some of you, especially our elementary folks, some of our middle grades folks, you're in special education, you are going to also have to, in addition to the content Praxis, you are going to also have to take the Praxis exam, Teaching Reading Elementary 5205. That's the current test that's offered. That test must be passed before graduation. Doesn't have to be passed before Internship 2. Be nice if it was, but it doesn't have to be passed until before graduation. Good news is we have a specific course that will help prepare you for that exam. So please don't take it until after you've taken that exam or that specific course because it will help you with that. Watch for post information about dates and times. There are oftentimes study sessions throughout. We have certain professors that we can connect you with if you're struggling with the passing of the Praxis. But again, lots of available online materials for you to pass that reading elementary. But remember, that doesn't apply to everyone. You need to be able to look at your Tennessee requirements and figure out if that's you. And number 2, it doesn't have to be passed before Internship 2, just the content Praxis. So that's really, really key for you to know as you move into that. Now, EdTPA. EdTPA is a national portfolio assessment that became a requirement for teacher education programs for graduation and licensure. All right, that became a requirement in 2019. He's been implementing that since 2018. And so there are going to be an opportunity during your Internship 2 semester. You will be completing EdTPA during your first part of your placement there. We will provide seminars where we will walk you through the entire portfolio process, but some things that you need to be familiar with. This is going to be a portfolio that is really a display in a written version, reflective version of what good teaching looks like. We know good teaching centers around planning, instruction, and assessment, all geared towards student learning. And so that's what EdTPA is going to be about. So there's going to be a lot of reflecting opportunities for you to plan, instruct, and assess during that time. It is not a cheap assessment. It does cost $300. So please go ahead and begin saving now for that. That money is not needed until the day you submit. Usually that happens around the first part of October, usually the end part of February for those different semesters, depending on when you're in Internship 2. There will be certain concepts that are embedded into graduate courses where you will hear about EdTPA. You will find out more about the expectations. We will also do some introductory seminars during Internship 1. And then during Internship 2, we do, again, as I said, we provide some pretty intense, specific seminars during that time for EdTPA passage. There are also opportunities for retakes if needed, which again, we hope that's not the case. But again, I will be the one that will kind of give you some oversight and insight, as well as our EdTPA coordinator, who will kind of work us through that process as well. So there's some things you need to be aware of with another assessment you're going to have to pass in order to graduate and receive your license with our Master of Arts in Teaching program. Now, some of you might ask a question about considering the thesis. Well, you can decide on a thesis, or it is UC 595 You can either do the thesis class or you can do an elective 3-hour class. Now, 90% of our students choose the 3-hour elective class, not doing the thesis because of the TPA, the content praxis, right? If that's the case, you need to take at least one semester prior to the semester of graduation, sign up for that class specifically, right? It's a good option if you're going to do an EDS or an EDD, but we need to know that ahead of time. So don't just do it the semester of, because there are things that we have to do on our end to prepare if someone wants to do a thesis and sign up for that $595. So that information is in your program guide. You can see, again, as a reminder, you don't have to take it. You can do it by an elective 3-hour class that's at the 500 level or above courses that you need. So be aware of that if you're thinking about a thesis. Now, when all is said and done, one of the things that we will remind you of is applying for graduation, right? That will also come through our office, through Portico University Services. There are different submit dates that we'll remind you of if you're going to go the winter, spring, 90% of you will graduate in the summer. So know those dates run between April 1st and May 15th, because if you're doing our traditional 14-month program, you start usually in June of one year and finish in July of the next year. That's, again, very typical. Not always the case. Some of you will take the full 14 months and it may be a inter-fall in next fall kind of situation. So be aware of those timing, and there's information there again that we can help you with as you get closer to that process. But our office will keep communication open with you about steps you need to be able to look at graduation. We will, again, information will be sent to you about practice times, regalia, all that kind of stuff that you'll need to know will come once you've applied and it starts to get closer to that. One of the things, of course, that our office does is we do apply for your license. That goes through Beth Ann Weidenbender, but again, I give oversight to that process and approve that process, making sure that you have all your endorsement needs met, you've passed all the requirement process. We will walk you through this process during internship too. So be aware. If you've got questions, we're certainly happy to answer those, but we want to make sure that you know that here's what you need to do to be able to be successful with that licensure process. Ms. Weidenbender does a fabulous job of communicating that information about things that you need or things that she needs to make this process very smooth for you to get your license, initial license here in the state of Tennessee. We can also answer questions about endorsements, additional codes, things that you potentially could do outside of this if you want to take other courses or another test or things like that. So what are things you need to be mainly aware of? A couple of things. Number one, throughout the program, if you fall below a 3.0 GPA, you will have to be removed from the program. Any grade that's below a C is unacceptable and could be grounds for dismissal. No more than 2 C's are allowed. If you have more than 2 C's, then we will say, I'm sorry, I don't think this is for you. You may register for classes online. However, there are some classes that you cannot register for example, internships, because applications are involved in that. You have to apply with our office. We will send you information about this kind of thing. So don't get discouraged if you can't register for certain classes, because one of our advisors has to approve you to be able to do that. And typically that's going to be either Ms. Randolph or Ms. Weidenbender will make sure that you have all the things that you need to register, right? So again, make sure you're talking to Ms. Weidenbender or Ms. Randolph about that. Usually during advanced class selection, usually October, we're running through those classes in October to register for spring and summer of next year. And then March usually happens when we're talking about fall and summer as well. One of the things I want to direct your attention to is this amazing website. Ms. Randolph has developed this great website that she will give you access to for new and current students that has all kinds of information on it, forms that you need, timelines, program guides, everything that you possibly could think about that you would need from the university. She has shared this information with you. And so you want to make sure that you save this information because it will be updated. We will use information from here as well to guide you through the program. So you want to make sure that you have access to that also. Now, other contact information that you need to be familiar with. This is all of our information. This is all of our contact information that we have here. Admission to the grad program, their requirements, advising. Ms. Randolph can help you through that. Transcripts, licensure, graduation, Ms. Weidenbender and myself teacher education program, supervisors forums. Ms. Isham, our secretary in our office, will help that as well. But again, we all really can help answer any of those questions that you have. So there's lots of people here to support you. We want you to do well, we want you to be successful. Just as a reminder, we will usually email because that's our mode of communication. I know you may have a personal email or another school email or something, but Lee will assign you an email when you, again, apply and you become a real student, and that's the email we will use for communication. So please make sure you keep it open, you keep checking it so that you don't miss some important communication from our office. So that's some information here about our Master of Arts in Teaching program. Again, if you have questions, you have my information here. You can feel free to email me, and I can be happy to answer those questions for you, or direct you to someone who can, whether that's financial or all those kind of things. We can certainly put you in contact with people who can help you with that process. So we look forward to you guys joining our program. Look forward to the successful completion of our program. We're here to support you guys in any way possible. So please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know if there's anything that we can possibly do for you guys. Okay, so thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you guys very, very soon.